if we just stayed back and been like, well, that's a lot of work and how are we going to, instead we just dive right into it. Now we have a lot of opportunities that we might have not had before.
So our whole goal is to be challengeable. And I think one thing we found, some of our most successful episodes have been really short, how to, like one of them was literally how to stop procrastinating. And it's one of our most popular episodes.
Insightful conversations with the people shaping the title and escrow industry. Hosted by Close Simple co-founder Bill Svoboda and brought to you by Close Simple, the trusted name in closing communication, helping title and escrow companies communicate during the closing with automated text messages, custom branded email, and the pizza tracker for title timeline. And now, Closing Talks.
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for hopping on here. Brooke and Lizzie, how are you doing today over there?
Great. Awesome. Thank you for asking.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on this. It's an absolute pleasure. The reason I brought both of you on today, you work at All American Title Company out of Minnesota, and you have locations all around the state. You're in Wisconsin as well. You're a multi-state title company. And what I really find incredible about both of you is you are crushing it on so many levels in marketing, so many levels. Lizzie, you're the marketing director at All American, and Brooke, you're an account executive. And today I wanted to specifically talk about how you're really raising the bar in this industry for marketing. Last year during the pandemic, you actually came out with a podcast, the All American Dream podcast. And I just wanted to kind of dissect a few things that you've learned over the past year from that and what you're now doing with that podcast, because this has opened a lot of avenues. So let's just start there. Lizzie, talk about how did you come up with the idea of starting a podcast in the title industry, an industry that, who does a podcast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, honestly.
Yeah.
So we started it right in the beginning of the pandemic. As salespeople, we weren't able to meet with anyone, and we were trying to be innovative and trying to think of a way of how can we bring value to our clients besides meeting with them and sharing our tips and tricks. And so then we thought a lot of people do podcasts, but we wanted to be one that keeps on going, I guess, right? Like, cause some people start and then they stop and start and stop. And so we had the time. So we invested into the material and then it kind of grew from there. And we wanted to try to give tips and tricks on the way to their next listing appointment, on ways they can help grow their business through various, social media, marketing tips and tricks, and hear other people and their, other professionals in the industry of what they do and what's successful for them. And then could they use that in their business?
Looking at the podcasts that you've done too, these are not, I would air quote, templated podcasts. You're not just interviewing people in the real estate industry. You're pulling in some insightful conversations from outside that your audience really, I think, would find captive. Let me ask you this, and either one of you can answer this. And then Brooke, I have a specific question for you though. But is there one or two topics that, as you've done this podcast, how many have you done first? And then is there one or two topics that has just risen to, wow, that resonated with our audience?
Yeah, we've done about 40 podcasts.
Yep. And I would say social media is a hot one because that was being used obviously quite a bit, even more, and technology. And one of the most things that I think, and I would like to hear your opinion, but video marketing and on social media channels and how to use Instagram and LinkedIn to get leads.
Our goal.
Go on, Brooke.
Our goal is about being like tangible advice. Cause I hate listening to like a podcast where it's just about like, oh, great, I'm so happy that you're successful, but how can I be like that? So our whole goal is to be tangible. And I think one thing we found is that some of our most successful episodes have been really short, how to, like one of them was literally how to stop procrastinating. And it's one of our most popular episodes.
And who did you interview for that one?
That was just us talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like 10 minutes long.
Brooke, so you're an account executive there at All American Title. You're working with a lot of real estate agents. What feedback have you gotten from your podcast? Like, what have you been hearing?
I think, first of all, it's a great way to promote our current clients and show them off, and then to be able to give them these assets that we've created, whether that's audio recording, video, whatever it may be about the podcast, that they can establish themselves as an industry leader by being like, I'm being interviewed as a thought leader because, I'm established as one of the best in the Minnesota industry for sure. And also too, just the tips. People love the tips.
I think the tips is what really sets it apart. Looking at all of your episodes, again, it's not templated content. Talk to me about how you got successful. Talk to me about your biggest listing. You're hitting points. And like you said, Lizzie, it's a podcast that a real estate agent can listen to on the way to their listing. And it's just this little snippet. I want to ask this though. So you launched the podcast last year during the pandemic. Amazing time to do something from home. You get people where they're at. But at the same point, a few months later, you launched an email campaign that I would say is the 1-2 punch for the podcast. You launched this amazing content that people can listen to, but then you come out with this email campaign that is just, if we're talking about tips and tricks in the industry, your email campaign that comes out every Monday, I look forward to receiving it. And it's loaded with tips and tricks. Talk to me about that email campaign and how that has played into your overall marketing then.
So that email campaign has established our brand. And in doing that, we are helping people with the tips and tricks to establish their brand and who they are as that agent. And it's not every tip and trick isn't going to work for every single person, but it helps them we encourage people to do the same emails that we do to send to their clients because it has made a world of difference in our industry and like for us on how we lead generate. And we try to encourage them to do that themselves.
I would say one of the biggest things is we all get a ton of emails. And the thing about it coming out on a Monday that we decided is that it's the first email that hits your inbox. Like, well, no, not actually, but
you see it right in the morning,
right away, Monday morning. And we give you 3 tips. So super short. It's not like you have to read a book, and then maybe our hopes are you can take one of those tips and implement them in your business that week right away. It's not like these high level, it's really tangible, specific tips, which I think has been what has been really successful for us.
And we're bringing value to everyone who is a subscriber.
So anybody listening to this, and one thing I love about what you two are creating here, it's almost a template that a real estate agent, anybody in your network could be doing the same thing. They should be launching a podcast. They should be doing an email campaign that's predictable on a certain day. It shouldn't just be whatever I feel like I'm sending an email out. As somebody's thinking about maybe they want to get into this, what's the hurdle? I think a lot of people come up with excuses why they're not going to do something. When you thought about doing the podcast, when you thought about consistently doing an email, I'm sure there were some hurdles that you had to get over internally. Like, talk to me about that, actually getting this thing going.
Do you want me to answer that? Because It's like, we were talking about it for a long time. And then the pandemic really is kind of what pushed us over the edge because we had all these ideas, but it was like, how are we going to implement this while we're meeting with people, while we're doing all the other things that we're supposed to be doing?
We had the time
to be able to slow down, take a step back. But that still didn't mean it was like super easy and came to us right away. I think the biggest thing was systems. So like getting that analysis paralysis of like, do I have the right systems? Like, am I going to be able to do this? Like, what happens if we don't record on a Monday? I think instead of overthinking your systems, you kind of just have to do it and then fail fast and then try again.
100%, because it's daunting when you think about like, how am I going to implement this into my day-to-day life of what, our main responsibility is going, or a real estate agent's main responsibility is, going out there and getting people to go through homes. But once you dive in and do it, and then it, creating that system as you go, now it's just automated. It's very easy for us to, and it doesn't take that a lot of time to do the research and then to implement that.
Yeah.
It's just part of our job
Our
now,
routine,
our
yeah.
routine. And now it's been successful. And so now, and it's created so many opportunities for us, which if we just stayed back and been like, well, that's a lot of work. And how are we going to, wow. Instead, we just dived right into it. Now we have a lot of opportunities that we might have not have had before.
And to be fully transparent, we did a lot of research on like, oh, what equipment, what are we going to do? What email, am I going to use MailChimp? Am I going to use like what kind of
Flowdesk?
There's so many different decisions to make, but we tried MailChimp, didn't like it, moved on. We tried this certain equipment. It didn't work. We returned it. We moved on. Yep. You just have to do it. And then hopefully there's a return policy on whatever you purchase and then just, go from there.
That's awesome. And again, like I said, when I introduced you two, I think you two are really setting a standard in the title and escrow industry for content and for marketing. You're thinking outside of the box and you're adding value, like you said, to the people in your network. And you're giving them things. I always like to say, make your clients look good. You're making your clients look good. You're bringing them on. One of my favorite episodes, though, on your podcast was when you interviewed one of your owners, Kevin Webb, about networking. And I'm sitting here like listening to your podcast and I'm soaking this stuff up going like, this guy is brilliant at this. I actually ran into him then later and I go, that was my favorite podcast I've listened to in a long time. So I think big kudos to you two, because to actually run a good podcast that isn't just long-winded stories, and you're doing it. You're doing a great job of it. And it's insightful, it's entertaining, and you're adding value, like you said. Let me ask you this. Last question is this. Next big thing, like what's on your horizon? What's the thing that's bugging you about the title and escrow industry, about marketing, about what you're currently doing that there's room for growth? What is the next thing that you two are going to kind of aim your sights at?
Bill, this is, oh my gosh, the $1 million question.
We have been really, it's funny because yesterday we hired a accountability coach and specific to the podcast to help us take it to the next big thing, I would say. It because we're salespeople, right? So we're like, oh, squirrel, on to the next thing, go. And so we have a lot of exciting things coming up, I guess, that we don't necessarily are ready to share just yet, but someone to help us take that to the next point and practice what we preach, which I would say is one of the things we've implemented now is video. And now that we're all able to kind of be in person now, is having the, client, because during the pandemic, they were calling in, right? So having actually sitting in front of people talking, videoing it, and seeing how that's going to take it to the next level, I guess, of views and subscribers and along those lines.
Yeah. And I think another thing too, that we started along with the podcast and the emails is a website, which we haven't really advertised, but it's kind of that next thing where it's like, we've put in a lot of work. We've done a lot of research. We've interviewed a lot of amazing people. We can't just forget about that content. It's like, how can we be repurposing it? It's kind of like Gary Vee, and kind of like how any other real estate agent or loan officer should be viewing their own content. It's like, let me look back on what I've already done. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, because there's a lot of ways to recycle and repurpose.
And how can we take John Doe, who we interviewed on, April when we started, and then get that back now and say, John, you can use this content. Here's how you can use this, because this is still relevant to today's market, or your tangible tricks are still, working. So how can we help him use that now to build his brand and use that content to help his business grow?
I think what I'm hearing from you two is there's always room to grow. You're not content where you're at. And that accountability piece is huge. You see an opportunity and you're doubling down, you're tripling down. And I think that's inspiring in this industry. You two are crushing it. It's fun to watch it. It's fun to get that email every Monday. I'm sure people watching this right now are going to go to your website and try to subscribe to that email. If they're not, they definitely should, because it's one of the best emails. I'm going to say this. I subscribe to a lot of emails in this industry, and your email is probably the only one. I'm just going to say it's the only one I actually look forward to seeing. And so that is It's beautiful. You add tips and it actually adds value, which is huge. So thank you both for being on here with me today. Hope you have a great rest of the day, because I know you're going to crush it there. You're in your war room, your marketing room, getting everything set up. And but it's been a pleasure chatting, and thank you.
Thank you.